Hi, I'm Bob Hasegawa, your state senator from the 11th Legislative District, and I'm coming at you with another weekly update here. And we're just finishing up the third week of session now, and it's been a pretty exciting first few weeks here in the legislature. In my last report, I told you a little bit about the political struggle that was going back and forth on who was actually going to control the Senate. So this majority coalition, comprised of mostly Republicans and a couple of Democrats, are in charge of the Senate right now, which puts the Senate Democratic Caucus into the minority. So I've been assigned as what we call a ranking member on the Government Operations Committee. Now, the ranking member is the minority's version of a chair. So I'm chairing the Senate Democrats on the Government Operations Committee, which gets the most bills of any committee during session. Last year they had over 100 bills come through this committee. So I'm looking forward to serving you on that committee. I'm also on the Ways and Means Committee, and that hasn't cranked up into full gear yet. But you know, as we get down to crunch time in writing the budget, that will be the key position, key committee for me to be able to look out for our community's interests in budget items. My third committee is on commerce and labor, and that's where most of the action has focused this past week. I don't know if you've followed Olympia much, but we have had a whole series of bills filed by the Republicans to basically dismantle workers' comp, is how I see it. So I call it workers' comp deform package is what they're promoting. So these bills, ostensibly from their perspective, they're saying it's going to create jobs. Well, I don't buy that argument. In no way do any of these bills create jobs. They're just destroying the security for our working families and our employees who rely on some insurance against an industrial injury, which could happen from manual laborers to white-collar workers. It's a security blanket that all of our families rely on to ensure that if any of our breadwinners are injured on the job, that our families are not going to lose their roofs over their heads or the food off of their table. So any movement backward in this area, I'm going to strongly oppose. But even more important than the policies themselves, I think, is the process. And the process has been, there's been a claim by the majority coalition that they want to work in a bipartisan manner. Well, if you look at the way they're operating these committees, just the opposite has been the case. Most of these worker comp deform bills have been jammed through session, voted on without full input from all of the people who came down here to testify. We had a hearing on them one day where we had to move the committee to the large meeting room because we're overflowing the small one. So we overflowed the large committee room and overflowed a second committee room of all the people who came to testify in Olympia to oppose these worker comp deform bills. And they never really got a chance to speak their mind on what they think about these bills. So we moved these bills out of committee regardless of that lack of input, and those bills are now sitting on the Senate floor waiting to be voted on. We'll probably be taking action on them by the time you see this video. Other bills that they're trying to jam through are to repeal Family Medical Leave Act. This is a bill that was designed to allow parents to take care of sick children, family members to take care of injured family members, elders, whatever. So to repeal this is really, in my view, an unconscionable step backward from creating the type of civilized society we all want. You know, if you look at most other civilized countries around the world, they all have these accommodations, you know, much more generous than what we're even proposing here. For instance, if you go to Denmark or Sweden, a new mother and father will get 2 years off just to make sure that the child gets a strong foundation and to build that bonding relationship. So we've got a long ways to go just to catch up with the rest of the civilized world, and here now the Republicans are trying to roll us backward. So I don't think that's a good move for our community. Another bill that they're looking at pushing through is a sub-minimum wage bill. They're trying to destroy the minimum wage that we have in Washington State and force people to work at $7.25 an hour. So they say that that's going to create jobs. And what really surprises me is that an organization like the Washington Retail Association would even support that, because retailers depend on consumers having money in their pockets. If we allow people to move from the state's minimum wage, which is $9.19, down to the federal minimum wage of $7.25, that's a lot of money that otherwise would be spent circulating through our community through these retail outlets. So I think that they're cutting off their nose to spite their face when they advocate to reduce the minimum wage. And besides, it's not moral for us to say that somebody needs to raise their family on $14,000 a year. So I'll be opposing that bill as well. So that's just giving you a flavor of what's going on in Olympia. I thank you for the privilege of being able to stand up for our communities in the Senate. And I'll look forward to talking to you during my next weekly update. Thanks. I'm Bob Hasegawa, your state senator from the 11th District. Thank you.